Hi, I'm Karen. Welcome to Texas Farmstead Living. Today's video is part one of our three-part series, Everything You Need to Know to Buy Half or Whole Beef. We're going to take you through each step of the process from where to find your beef to beef in your freezer. So please subscribe to our channel so you don't miss our next video. The first step in the process to buying your own beef is where to buy beef. I always recommend that you buy beef as close to home as possible. There are two great advantages to buying local. One is you get to know your rancher. It is so important that the ranching practices used to raise the beef are in line with your standards for raising beef. Here are two examples. Grass-finished beef versus grain-finished beef. Another example is pasture-based grazing versus confined feeding. Very important, you want to make sure you're on the same page as your rancher. So later in this video, I'm going to share 10 questions to ask your rancher before you purchase beef. And this will help you determine if it's a great match or not. Here are my 5 favorite resources for finding local beef. As I give you my resource, I'm going to show you how to find it on the website. So my first recommendation is the American Grass-Fed Association. So let's go to AmericanGrassFedAssociation.org. Okay. Scroll down to where you see a goat and it says Consumer Trust, Our Grass-Fed Standards, and click Learn More. It's a green button. Okay, now read their standards, see if they're in line with your standards. And most of these producers are inspected and recommended by this association. I'm a member of this association. So if you will scroll down the page to where it says find a local AGA certified grass-fed producer, click the red button, and it is organized by state. So you put in your state, and all the producers will come up in alphabetical order, and just try to find one as local as possible. That is a great resource. The second resource I recommend is eatwild.com. It was created in 2001 by Joe Robinson. It is a great resource for finding humanely raised, grass-based meat and dairy and eggs. So if you'll go to eatwild.com and look to your left, there's a green column in the top button. I guess home is the top. The second button says shop for local grass-fed meat, eggs, and dairy. So I highly recommend. This has been around a long time. So the third resource is farmers markets. When you go to a farmer's market and you see someone selling beef by the piece, always ask them if they will sell a whole or a half. My friend Laura goes to farmers markets in Austin selling beef, and she always offers halves and wholes. And sometimes she even goes to the farmers markets without any beef and offers halves and wholes. So always ask if they will sell. The fourth resource I recommend is WestonAPrice.org. Weston A. Price Foundation has chapters all over the U.S. and all over the world, and they usually have a local Facebook group, and they have chapters that will recommend local food. So, you know, I am part of the Facebook group in Austin, Texas, and if I am looking for something, I just simply ask the question. There's lots of eyes looking at that, so that's a great resource. My fifth resource is word of mouth. You know, when you see or if you know a vegetable farmer or any kind of farmer, ask them where they get their beef, because recommendations are golden and a great way to find beef. As promised, here are the 10 questions you should ask a rancher before you purchase beef. If you'll go to my website, texasfarmsteadliving.com, and go to the blog and find the blog post, Everything You Need to Know to Purchase a Half or Whole Beef, you will find the 10 questions that you can print out. So we're going to go through these questions pretty quickly, but that's a good resource for you. The first question you want to ask is, are they grass-fed, grass-finished, or grain-fed? There is a difference. All cattle are grass-fed. All mother cows and calves are usually out in pastures, and they are grass-fed. Grass-finished means that the animal is taking to the harvest weight only on grass. And of course, grain-finished is when possibly they were grass-fed as calves, and then they went to the feedlot and were grain-finished. The second question to ask a rancher is, do they vaccinate? If you want to vaccinate an animal, you should ask what vaccinations are given, and some people may want an unvaccinated animal. So just learn the difference and ask those questions. The third question is, what do they use for parasite control? So all animals have, there's fly controls, there's parasite like intestinal worm control. So you want to ask, because if you're not comfortable with the medication that they use, you would want to know at this point. The fourth question to ask is, does the rancher use hormone implants? There are implants that go in the animal's ears, and they, slowly release some hormones, and it will make the animal gain weight faster. So, that's something you might want to ask about. Number 5 is, how many acres per animal unit is used in the stocking rate in this operation? So, like, if one animal unit would count as one cow, so like in my area, we usually stock around 30 acres per animal unit, so 30 acres per cow. That's a good question, because if someone is like putting 5 cows to 1 acre and just feeding them hay, and even if they're grass-fed, they may feed alfalfa and hay, and then, that might not be in line with your standards. So make sure and ask that question. Number 6 question is, which breeds of cattle does the rancher raise? There are many breeds of cattle, and they all have great attributes to each breed, but you want to ask your rancher, which breed he raises. Each rancher has a favorite breed. This book, I've mentioned it before in one of my steak videos. If you'll read this book, this man goes all over the world searching the best steak, and he tries all different breeds of cattle and different feeding, like grass-fed versus grain-finished. So read this book, and at the end you'll find out what he claims is the best breed of cow for beef. But I'm going to show you some of the different breeds that we raise here at River Ranch. We have Hereford, Richard Herefords, we have Red Angus, Black Angus, and Jersey cattle. But you would want to know and research it and make sure, that was in line with what you wanted. Number 7 is the herd closed? That means, do they bring in new animals periodically, or do they just use AI to bring in new genetics? We are completely closed and closed for 10 years. So there is a difference, because when you bring in new animals, you have the opportunity to bring disease into your herd. And we are very disease free. And I do have a video about the 8 diseases to test your family cow for before you buy one. But that's an important question, because if there's disease in the herd, you might want to know about it. Number 8 is you need to know the targeted weight of the animal when it's going into harvest, because this is so important, because that will determine the yield and the price of the beef that you're going to buy. So we are going to, in part 2 of our series, I'm going to show you how to do the calculations for price and yield of beef. So stay tuned for that. The 9th question is, where is the processor? You'll want to know the location of the processor that the rancher uses, because they will be delivering the animal for harvesting, and you probably will be responsible for picking up your own meat. So that's a great question. The 10th question to ask your rancher is their terms and price. So there's a lot of different scenarios that ranchers use. Some require you to meet them at the processor on the harvest date to fill out your cut sheet, and so you can give it to the processor right then. And other ranchers are fine with just dropping off the animal at the processor and letting you email your cut sheet in. But you just want to make sure that you are very comfortable with the terms and any deposits that you might need to make. Price is very important, because chances are you're going to be paying per pound of hanging weight. In part 2 of this series, I'm going to show you how to calculate yield and price of beef. So step by step, so you will understand the calculation, so you can project how much beef that you will get and what the cost will be. Please subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any parts of this very important series. From our Texas Hill Country farmstead to you, have a blessed day, and we'll see you on the next video, which is part 2. Bye-bye.